Hello snowboarders of the internet, I'm your host Avran LeFeber, and in this video we're going to be reviewing the Bataleon Evil Twin. This board features Bataleon's medium camber, which is just good old-fashioned traditional camber. So from contact point to contact point you have that arc of traditional camber. That's going to give you all the load, pop, snap, and drive out of this board. Now, you also have 3BT and sidekick technology in the tips that elevate those contact points and scoop it out. This is just going to make it a little more loose and buttery without the worry of it catching an edge when you're sizzling and swizzling. This board is available in 151, 154, 156 wide, 157, 159, 159 wide. I rode this board at Copper Mountain on a sunny bluebird day with slightly warmer temps. You had chopped chunder, a little bit of ice, and perfect corduroy, and I rode it with my Rome Black Label bindings and my K2 Thraxis boots. This is your standard middle of the road park flex. Nothing mind-blowing here. It's going to be soft in the tips, stiffer through the middle. Now, in the tips, you do have this huge sweet spot for locking into presses and butters, and then you've got this stiff section through the middle with a fair amount of torsional flex. You can really twist this board if you absolutely need to. When it comes to the stability of this board, if you're in the park, it's stable and you're gonna notice it. You do get a little chatter if you're really mobbing into a jump, and you'll feel that slightly underfoot, but that center section of the board really does a good job of dampening and keeping you locked in the park. When you leave the park, keep your knees bent because you can get bucked around if you get into really firm, rutted out terrain. But it's not so loose that you're going to absolutely die with this thing. So first things first, it's not as snappy as the Plus version. That's just a given. Now with that said, it feels like an old school twin cambered snowboard. You're going to load it up, it's going to pop. You're going to be able to launch a roller, cat track, gap a side hit, or ollie over that family of fat skiers that's having a family reunion in the middle of the run. It doesn't really matter. So just understand, you load it up, you roll onto the tail, you spring, you snap, you're in the air. There you go. When it comes to hitting jumps, small, medium, large, it's going to be able to handle them all. I think it is better at small to medium jumps. It's just a little looser in that tail when you set it down. So if you come down into a steep landing, you're probably going to wheelie out if you don't land bolts. If you land bolts, going to be fine. Basically, if you know how to hit a jump, you're not going to die. If you don't, well, you probably should learn. It's just a good life skill. So the big thing with buttering is that 3BT and sidekick technology in the tips. It scoops it out. It makes it less catchy, so you don't have to worry about hooking an edge and dying, because no one wants to hook an edge and die. You also have that immense sweet spot in the nose and the tail. That locks into presses, right? So when you get your weight out over it, and you're swizzling and sizzling, you don't have to worry about it. You're going sideways, you're pressing it. It's going to be fine. Now the big thing is there's still snap in this board, so you're going to be able to pop out of any butter variation that you do. This translates over to how this board is actually going to jib. Now it locks into presses and you can feel it lock, and it will hold until the very end of the feature, and then you're going to be able to snap and pop off and over anything in your path. You don't have to worry about it. When you go sideways, this board hugs right around the feature. It locks in, it feels secure. You never have to worry about it. Basically, if you know how to board slide, it's going to lock in. And the beautiful thing about this is you got that elevated contact point. So if you're a little edge heavy on a front board and you're worried that it's going to hook, probably won't, just because it's a little bit more elevated. So you got that going for you. So with this being a park board, big sweet spots in the tips, 3BT, sidekick, elevated contact points, right? It's a little loose on its turn initiation. You notice that right away. It just feels a little sloppy. It's not as precise, and that's where the Plus version of this board would actually come in. You get more precision from it. Now with that said, it's not a bad thing that it's a little loose because, like I said, it's a park board. So you're going to be able to do park carves fine and setup turns. Just understand out on a real run, you might have some issues with it. That's all. You're bringing back that front initiation closer to the insert pack, and with it doing that, it changes that ankle flexion dynamic. Now when it's on edge, it locks in, it feels secure. When you drive it from the back foot, pushing in your knee to the center of the board to just get that power out of the tail, it can wash out on you. Be aware of that. It's got limitations. Short, tight, quick setup turns and carves for a feature, totally fine. Mellow carves, great. Deep, hard, aggressive carbs, you're gonna be wanting more. If you're riding a groomer and it's lumpy as shit, it's probably not gonna be the most grippy thing out there, but it's the Evil Twin. What would you expect? Who's this board for? The all-around park rider that wants a catch-free feel in the tips. So this board did get a new shape this year, and it rides different. It's good. Like, whatever version of 3BT they put on this is the right blend of looseness to playfulness for what this board is, and with the flex pattern of this board, it really differentiates itself from the Plus version, which is nice because that's what it should do. You shouldn't have two boards where you get on it and it's such a marginal difference. You're like, this is a noticeable difference. You want more snap, power, and precision, you go with the Plus. You want it a little more loose and playful, you go with the regular version. I like this board. It did everything I wanted. It was great. It didn't feel super loose in icy conditions compared to past Evil Twins that I've ridden with 3BT. Sometimes on ice, 3BT doesn't grip. This one didn't really have that issue. You just bring it back in and steer more underfoot, and it's fine. I really did like the camber profile on this board. It's easy to engage. The snap is solid. Overall, as I've said, I like this board. It's good for what it is. Comparable boards, the Kappa to DOA, the Rome Agent, the Ride Zero. Binding recommendations, the Bataleon Blaster Full Wrap, the Ride C6, the now IPO. This has been my review of the Bataleon Evil Twin. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you own one? Are you gonna buy one? Leave me a comment down below. Let's have a conversation about this snowboard. If you're new here, remember to subscribe, click the bell, get those notifications. That way you're not missing any of the videos we got coming out for all you snowboarders of the internet. And if you really like what we're doing over here and you wanna support us further, swing on over to Angry Snowboarder VIP and become a member. Sure, I could tell you more here, but I got a video over there that explains it so much better. As always, I've been your host, Avran LeFeber, and I'll see you in another video.